think my first and ultimate fear was that my wife wouldn't be with the girls and I. The life that we thought we had built on a firm faith foundation was gone forever. And that was extraordinarily difficult for two people in their 30s and two kids under 10 to understand and to process. Perhaps my biggest question at the time is why? Like, why would this happen to us? You know, with all the evil in the world and with all of the difficult things that are out there, why would this happen to us when we're trying to do His work? In 2017, I prayed a prayer to take everything within me that was me and not valuable to Him from me, and to break my heart for what breaks His, and to give me a story that I can share with other people. And I can't help but feel like, in retrospect, that this struggle that we went through was an answered prayer.
In 2017, I started waking up in the middle of the night and I felt like a cartoon character, like my heart was enlarged and beating outside my chest and pounding. I was gasping for air, and even sometimes when I woke up, I felt like I had stopped breathing, and that's what was waking me up. There was something that was caught that was abnormal.
The doctor came in the room. You could see it all over his face. He placed his hand on Tabitha's shoulder and said, "May God bless you."
I was in heart failure, right heart failure. And a few months later, after December 2019, I would be further diagnosed with pulmonary arterial hypertension. And I was given a life expectancy of 2.5 to 5 years to live.
And that was the moment that really started the deep struggle.
I wondered where God was, and I wondered why He had left me and forsaken me. I honestly was jealous because I was not going to get to live my life with my family like I thought God had promised and had given me, and that another woman would be able to experience those things with my husband and my children that I wanted to be part of. I had to pull away from so much that I didn't know who I was. I got to where I couldn't go up and down the stairs. I'd be gasping for air and have to stop. All I knew I was this sick person that probably wouldn't live much longer is kind of how I felt. You know, what use did my life have? You know, what could God do with this? And furthermore, He probably didn't care about my life because He wouldn't have let this happen to me if He loved me. I just felt like I was a burden and in the way, and I was miserable, and life would have just been easier with me not in it. I found myself in the floor of my closet contemplating just ending it all. I didn't want to suffer. I wanted my husband to go on and find a new wife. I wanted my girls to have a new mother that they could get used to and grow with. And I did not want to be in the way of that. While I was sitting there, I heard my youngest daughter hollering for my name. I had to make a split decision because she was headed towards the room I was in, and that's kind of what just did it. God specifically knew that if I heard her voice. And I think He was showing me some grace and mercy. I was supposed to have a second right heart catheterization. This was to hopefully help more quickly find treatment that would work. And then there's a pandemic and the world's shutting down, and the doctor had told me it's not going to happen. And I prayed and I said, if you are who you say you are and you do what you say you do and you keep your promises, then there's nothing on this earth, nothing in heaven, nothing in hell, nothing at all that will stop me from having this procedure, that you're going to make this happen. And I need you to prove that to me. God moved, and I ended up at the hospital where I was supposed to have the procedure. And I felt very alone because of the pandemic. No one was allowed in with me. And remember, they don't give you medicine for this procedure, so we can't say it was the medicine. I noticed this impression or pattern in the curtain, and it reminded me of a picture that I used to see in my grandmother's house. And it was the outline of the face of Jesus, that there was a painted portrait on her wall. And it was in that moment I thought, I don't need my husband, I don't need my children, I don't need my mom, I don't need my dad, because my Lord is here with me, my Creator. And He didn't leave me, and I doubted Him and needed Him so badly that He showed His face in a curtain. I've thought about this a few times, about how Him hanging up there on that cross and how hard it was for Him to get His breath in my own personal experience, and how He chose that for me because He loves me. And all the times I've been disobedient, how He still chose and He still walked that path and He went through that journey knowing He was going to suffer. Like, you can't even put into words how much love there is for someone that would walk that and do that willingly for you, knowing what they're going to face and knowing that they are perfect and the people they are doing it for are not perfect. I just feel like we owe Him everything for that, including laying down our own lives. He has loved me by giving me that next breath I don't think that's going to come, by answering my prayer and calming my heart when it's beating out of control, when my mind is wandering and racing and overcome with the enemy and all of his lies. And He always, always reassures me and reminds me that I'm His and that nothing will ever change that here in this life or in eternity. Everything earthly will fade or fail, but He will not, and He hasn't. He has been my hope and will always be my hope. Nothing can satisfy my soul like Jesus does. He is enough, and He's done enough.
After experiencing only a fraction of the struggle that Christ felt, you really gain a deeper perspective for God's love. And the empathy also that comes through that for people who are suffering, that don't know or haven't embraced the gospel. And for me, that's why I'm thankful that he answered that prayer from 2017, to break my heart for what breaks his, and to provide me a story by which I can share the gospel.
And I think it's important we share our stories so that people don't have this unrealistic idea of who God is, and that if you're following Jesus, nothing can happen to you and everything's great, grand, and wonderful. My current treatment has helped tremendously. Is usually only successful in less than 5% of PAH patients. My doctor says I have a wonderful prognosis moving forward and can live 20 plus years if things continue as they are. Looking back, I had no hope for a future, and that's because I didn't have faith. And if I had taken my life that day, I think about all the things I would have missed between then and now, and the future I do have with my family. No matter how many days, whether they be very long, very short, each one of those days are a gift, and I do not take them for granted now.
I feel like God has taught us and is still teaching us how to let Him be the God of our lives, rather than us try to carry that burden of being the gods of our own lives. I would have never recognized that before this situation, that I was the God of my life. We realized a lot of the things that we wanted to go back and do and the things that we had done previously were not critical to His mission, and in some cases distracting, and in some cases noise. And that really emphasized for me the importance of anything that we add back be for the kingdom.
Pain and suffering shows, for me, it showed me just how little I was and just how big He was. And showed me just how weak I was and how strong He was. And I think pain and suffering is needed in life, unfortunately, to remind you of who you are and who He is.
I never thought I would be able to understand or feel grateful for the struggle. I'd love to say that I would like to go back and practice these things and know these things that I know now and change without having to suffer. But I had 34 years before this struggle started to do that. but we didn't do it. For me personally, it's much easier for me to let God be God when I can't be my own. When I can't work through the pain, when I can't handle it. And from that perspective, pain and suffering is beautiful in a sense.